Hey, everybody, this is Mo. What's going on? I want to talk to you today about the book Think and Grow Rich. It was written by Napoleon Hill. This is chapter 11, and it talks about transmuting sexual energy. Okay, he uses this word transmute, and in his book, the definition of transmute is, he says it's the changing of energy from one form to another. And what he talks about in this chapter is changing sexual energy from physical to mental. So he talks about how sexual desire, especially in men, sexual desire is one of the most powerful human desires. And I would say in women also. He talks about how men are driven to get sex physically. So like a man is driven in life, or a woman is driven in life to have sex. You know, we get all these thoughts about sexual things. And it says when a man desires to have sex for a woman, some traits that he possesses become even greater. For example, a man's imagination becomes greater in his quest to get sex, the things that he can think of, the ways that he can think of to get sex. His courage, he becomes more courageous when he knows that sex is going to be something that he might end up getting. His willpower, men become more persistent. Our creativity, he says all those things are like there's a normal level, then there's a sexual level. Okay? And he says a lot of men just use those abilities, how they're heightened. They just use it to simply get sex, and then that feeling goes away until the next time he wants to have sex again. But in this chapter, he's telling you, he says, if we learn to take this raw physical sex energy from purely wanting to get off sexually to taking that energy and just wanting to get off, and you take that energy and you put it into the desires that you have. You take that creativity and put it into desires. You take that energy and you put it into your imagination. You take that energy and you put it into persistence behind ideas that you have in life. You will be able to achieve great things. He talks about how men and women who have been able to take their desire for sex and turn it not just to a physical thing, like, not just wanting to get off sexually. If you can take that energy and put it into your thoughts and behind your desires, you will achieve great things. He says that people who've been able to do that are some of the greatest achievers that have ever lived. He talks about sexual emotion is the greatest stimuli of our minds. He says there's a such thing as the sixth sense. And this is also known as the creative imagination. This sixth sense takes our brain to a greater level of achievement and thought. He says that we're all born with creativity, but if you don't use your creativity, you lose it. The more you use that part of your brain, the creative imagination, the better it becomes, the greater it becomes. He talks about closing your eyes, the power of closing our eyes. This really helps us to focus in and hone in on those ideas and that creativity. He gives the example of one scientist who used to take himself. He had a room designed in his house that was dark. And the only thing he had in the room was like a table with a small lamp. And he had like a bed or something he'd lay down on. And it was airtight. No noise came into the room. And he would just lay there and wait for ideas to come. And when he had an idea, he'd write them down. He talked about one time this guy sat there for hours. He came up with 200 ideas. He says that companies would actually pay this guy to sit and wait on ideas for their company. He talks about men over 40. He says that a lot of men's greatest achievements come over the age of 40 because they've learned how to take their sexual energy and not just use it to have sex, but use it to put it behind those ideas. They've learned how to control that sexual urge to use it for great things like achievement, not just simply having sex with someone else. He talks about developing magnetism. Okay, this energy that just separates you from other people when you walk into a room. He called that magnetism. Ways that people know you have magnetism. He said your handshake can let people know your magnetism. The tone of your voice, your posture, your thoughts. And he says your physical appearance, how you look compared to everybody else, can give you a magnetism that separates you from the pack. He talks about a man's wife. He says that a man's wife can make him or break him depending on the way she operates in his life. He says that men desire to please women more than anything else in life. The number one desire for a man, he says, is to please women. So this chapter was talking about changing sexual energy from physical to a mental state. Okay, this is chapter 11 of Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill. Thank you. Put some comments down there for me. Let me know what you think. Peace.